you don't get a refund on your life, bro. And that's why it's so important for you to always pay attention to who you're taking advice from. Because what can happen is if you hang around the wrong kind of people, or think certain people are giving you the best advice when it's not in your best interest, is you can take that advice, right? And then go on and do that for however long it takes you. Maybe you take this advice for the rest of your life, and then you go through all of it and you realize, like, oh shit, I fucked up. I regret taking that advice. And now your life's done, right? Now you've wasted either your whole life, a couple years of your life, depending on what degree you took advice from. And that's why it's like you don't get a refund on that, bro. There's no way you can go back in time. And so I understood this very early on. And this is why I never listened to my parents or to my grandparents, people in my family, because I always had this level of realization of, like, okay, obviously I love these people, and no matter how much money it is they make or whatever, it was like I don't want to live the life that they're living. So why would I listen to them? Right? As crazy, as harsh as that sounds, it's like, you take money advice from some guy that's homeless? Like, probably not, right? And it's the same way I've gone throughout my journey, and just listening to things for fact and how they are and how they is, instead of having this emotional connection to whoever it is that I'm listening to and trying to take somebody's advice, right? Because what happens, I think, to a lot of us in listening to our families or listening to people that we maybe grew up with for a long time or all those kind of things, is we can take advice from them because we feel like, as like, we can trust them, or we've known them for so long or whatever, and they may think they're giving us the right advice, but they're not, because what somebody else wants and what you want are completely different things, right? And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm really only going to take advice from people that I know have either done what I'm trying to do, or are in the process of doing it, or in those, like, specific scenarios. That's the only way I'm going to take advice from somebody. And then, even then, when I take advice, I'm taking it just as advice. I'm not taking it as, like, some kind of ancient philosophy or anything along those lines. Now, why? I'll tell you exactly why. Guys, something I thought about deeply a couple times is that every single person's life is different. Depending on where you grew up, bro, how your family was, if you come from money, if you don't come from money, like, all these different things. It's literally what makes you unique, right? And that's why you are unique. And so it's like, no matter the kind of advice or the degree somebody can relate to you, or like has been in your position, whatever, it's like they haven't lived the exact same life that you have. And so their advice might be valid, but also understand that they didn't go through the exact same thing you have. And that's why I would say, usually the best advice that you can take, bro, and the best advice for you to take is your own advice. Because a lot of the times we subconsciously know kind of what the right is from wrong, actually, just identifying the two. Like, probably what we should do, I think it's just this inner instinct, or this when you have, like, that gut feeling, that second nature about things. It's like you usually know what you need to do or what you should do. But I'm not saying that to the degree in, like, taking advice or learning from mentors or things along those lines. I'm just meaning, whenever I hear people speak, or whenever somebody's trying to give me advice, I have to understand that I'm not going to take this as, like, some kind of pledge. I'm taking it for what it actually is, and that is advice, right? And these are things that have helped me tremendously so many times in my life, in my journey, from, you know, avoiding pieces of advice, from taking pieces of advice from people that have done things that I want to do, build things that I want to build, all those kind of things, and not listening to people that have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, even though they think they do and they haven't done what I'm trying to do, are trying to give me advice on a life that I don't even want to live. Like, I always say this, boys, I'm never going to sit here and trash talk my family, because there's so many lessons that you do learn from family. A lot of the times these are life lessons and things along those lines. But specifically in my scenario, there's not a lot of money lessons that I can necessarily learn from my family, because to be quite honest, like, we don't have money in my family. Like, my family doesn't come from money, or they usually operate from a place of, you know, my family, for example, they're very hard workers, and they have businesses actually, which is hilarious, yet they preach going to school, and all these things. But there's been so many times where I'm having conversations with my family where I realize, you know, number one, we did not grow up in the same generation. When I'm trying to take advice from my grandpa on, like, okay, let me go to school and do this and this and this, and go $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in debt, and then live a life. Maybe I'll make $200,000, $300,000 a year, but like, I don't want a job. Like, the goal is not to make a lot of money and still have a 9 to 5, right? And maybe for specifically like some members in my family, that's what they would love to do, right? But that's not the life I want to live, right? And so they can be giving you advice for what they think is right, but to you, that's not right. And in that observation, in so many times having these conversations over and over and over with my family, recognizing patterns, bro, all this kind of stuff, and just heavy observation, was it very, very clear then to me, like, okay, this is why taking advice, hanging around the right people, all these different things that come together in your life has to be inspected, has to be purposefully designed, right? And this is why we say you need to play life to your advantage and put yourself in the best situations. Talk to the best kind of people that you can, the like-minded people, all these things that actually will help play in your favor of whatever it is that you're trying to do. So, boys, with that being said, hopefully you took something valuable from this video on really understanding just, you don't get a refund on your life, bro. So be very particular, be very cautious, be all these things when it comes to designing your life, having intent behind everything that you do, and playing to your fucking advantage.